Learning how to use VLookup will help you know when to use VLookup. We'll start on the how by taking a detailed look at the formula arguments in this first example. But before we start, note that the V in VLookup stands for vertical. You can only use VLookup in a list or table arranged in vertical columns. In this example, part number and part name and so on are all arranged in columns. If your data is not in columns, VLookup just won't work for you. Now for the arguments. VLookup has 4 arguments. Argument 1, lookup value. What value are you searching for? If you were looking up a phone number in a phone book, the person's name would be the lookup value. In this example, the part number is the lookup value and cell G2 is the lookup value argument. Let's see what happens. I type the lookup value, say A003, in cell G2 and get a return price of $15.49. Excel looks for A003 in the left column and then returns the price in another column on the corresponding row. And here's a kind of VLookup gotcha. The lookup value must be in the first or left column. This is a hard and fast rule. If your lookup value is not in the first column, and for some reason you can't move the data to the first column, VLookup won't work. Argument 2, table array. Where do you want to search? This is also called the lookup table. I've used cell references here to define the lookup table, which includes everything from cell A3 through cell D52. Argument 3, column index number. Which column contains the search result? Notice the argument says number, not column heading, and this can be confusing. VLookup doesn't use column headings such as A, B, C, and so on. Instead, you literally count the number of columns starting from the left to arrive at the number of the search result column. Here, since I'm searching for part price in column C, I start counting from the left, 1, 2, 3, and 3 is the column index number. Argument 4, range lookup. Should the lookup value be true or false? That depends on whether you need an exact match or an approximate match. Here I need an exact match between the part price and the part number. When you need an exact match, the argument is false or can also be entered as 0. That false equals exact can be hard to remember and is another area that can trip you up, so try to remember that false equals exact match. Now we'll go through the arguments for the second example. Argument 1, lookup value. The value I'm searching for is quantity and the argument is cell F20. I type a quantity, say 1,045, in the cell and get a 9% discount. VLookup looked the quantity up here in the first column. Remember, the lookup value must be in the first or leftmost column. Argument 2, table array. This is the table I want to search. In this example, I used a defined name for the cell references, quantity discount. I did that just to show you that you can use a named range or you can use cell references. Use whichever method you prefer. Notice that this table does not begin in column A. Instead, it starts in column B. The first column of your list or table can start anywhere. For example, it could start in column K, and that's just fine. Put the table where you need it to be. Argument 3, column index number. Which column contains the search result? In this case, counting from the left, 1, 2. 2 is the column index number argument. Argument 4, range lookup. Should the lookup range be true or false? Here, I don't want to limit VLookup only to an exact match because customers can buy 1,000 units, which is exact, but they could also buy 1,001, which would require an approximate match. So the argument is true, which will return an exact match if one exists. You can also enter the argument as 1, or you can leave the argument blank, in which case Excel will assume it is true or approximate. By the way, if the argument is true, you should sort your first left column in ascending order, or you may get unexpected formula results. It's also okay, however, to sort the first column even if the argument is false. Next up, a new example using VLookup on more than one spreadsheet.